He forced her to play the piano as a joke, but in just 10 seconds, he regretted it. Don't forget to comment what country you're watching us from. It all happened during a gala night at the mansion of the von Albrecht family, a European high society family known for their opulence and arrogance. Amelia, a young, newly arrived maid, had been assigned to tend to the main hall, serving drinks amidst the music and booming laughter. One of the guests, the influential banker Julius Meinhard, pointed at her scornfully. "Come on, girl, since you're not good for much, at least play something funny on that piano, something to make us laugh." The room erupted in hollow laughter. Amelia looked at him without a word, her cheeks flushing not with embarrassment, but with contained helplessness. They didn't know that Amelia was no ordinary maid. For years, she had studied piano at a conservatory before the war forced her to flee her country. Her family had lost everything. Her father, a renowned composer, had died defending his sheet music from a regime that despised free art. Now, the very same people who mocked her uniform were the heirs to the scorn that had scarred her. The lady of the house, who knew part of her past, tried to intervene. "Julius, please, don't embarrass her," but he let out a forced laugh. "Embarrassment? This is entertainment. Come on, girl, don't make us waste our time." The orchestra fell silent, and all eyes, sharp as knives, fixed on Amelia. With trembling hands, she sat on the piano bench, not from fear of playing, but from the mix of pain and rage boiling in her chest. Julius crossed his arms, expecting something clumsy, perhaps a children's tune. The silence was thick. Some murmurs slipped from the guest's lips like poison. Amelia looked up for just a second, catching the man's mocking expression. In that instant, she lowered her hands and let them rest on the keys. She hadn't played a single note yet, but her mere presence was already making more than one person uncomfortable. "What are you waiting for, maid? An ovation before you start?" said one of the young men aloud, provoking forced laughter. The first chord fell like a sentence, dark, deep, unexpected. Amelia wasn't playing to entertain, but to tear open a wound. Each note seemed like a repressed story. The laughter ceased. Julius frowned, confused, but said nothing. Amelia's hands moved with the precision of someone who has guarded something sacred for years. It was as if the keys were confessing the abuse she had suffered, the humiliation, the hunger, the loss. Some guests began to feel uneasy. A pair of ladies looked at each other in silence, as if recognizing something they didn't understand. The house butler stopped dead in his tracks upon entering the hall, unable to move. The air had changed. It was then that Julius tried to interrupt. "That's enough. This isn't music, it's a tragedy." But no one laughed. No one backed him up. The intensity grew. Amelia closed her eyes and let her soul speak. If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what you think of it. Tears began to well up in the eyes of one of the older guests, who recognized the melody as a forbidden piece from her youth, written by a composer who had died in exile. Amelia had chosen that piece on purpose, not as revenge, but as an act of dignity. And just as the entire room seemed to surrender to the truth in her notes, Julius, furious and humiliated, approached her, ready to stop her with his own hands. But what happened the moment he placed his hand on the piano left everyone paralyzed. Julius gritted his teeth, his hand trembling, about to slam the piano lid shut with violence. But before he could, a voice rose from among the crowd. It was Mr. Baumgartner, the dean of the Vienna Conservatory, who had arrived late to the gala unnoticed. "Don't you dare, Julius," he exclaimed, in a tone that shattered the atmosphere. "Do you know what you are listening to? That piece was composed by Friedrich Lorenzi, his final work before he was executed for opposing the regime." The hall fell silent. Amelia continued to play, oblivious to the commotion, her eyes closed, as if the past were speaking to her through the piano. Julius lowered his hand, confused, but still unwilling to yield. It was then that whispers began among the guests. A high society woman, known for her snobbery, murmured, "And how on earth does this maid know how to play something like that?" Another replied, "This isn't an interpretation, this is lived experience." Some took a few steps back, as if being near Amelia made them feel guilty for something they didn't know they had done. Julius, increasingly uncomfortable, tried to regain control. I don't care who composed it or who's playing it. This is my party, and I decide what's heard. But his voice no longer held any authority. No one responded, not even the servants. Watching from the corners seemed to pay him any mind. A few seconds later, Amelia finished the piece. She stood up slowly, with the same calm she had started with. She looked Julius in the eye for the first time, and said in a firm voice, "I am not here to entertain anyone. I am here because you destroyed everything I once was, but that doesn't mean you could erase what I carry in my hands." Julius was left speechless. The silence was crushing. Mrs. von Albrecht, who had been at the back of the room the entire time, came forward. "Amelia, you're Laurenti's daughter, aren't you?" The young woman nodded with a slight movement of her head. Some covered their mouths, others looked down. No one knew how to react. "My father was humiliated by men like you, Julius," Amelia continued. "And yet, he never stopped creating beauty. You destroyed him, but I play so that his voice may live on." Julius, unable to hold her gaze, took a step back. It was the dean, who intervened again. "Amelia Laurenti, on behalf of the conservatory, I apologize for everything you have been denied. You have a place with us, if you'll accept it." The applause wasn't immediate, but when it started, it was powerful. Some wept in silence, others simply watched, paralyzed by the truth they had just witnessed. Julius turned to leave the room but was stopped by the hostess. "You're not just leaving as if nothing happened. We learned something today, and you will be the first to hear it." The next morning, the newspapers were talking about the young maid who made high society weep with the piano. Amelia, now recognized as the heir to her father's legacy, gave a benefit concert in memory of persecuted artists. Julius, for his part, was cast out of several social circles. No one wanted to be associated with someone who had publicly humiliated an artist for her origin and status. Amelia held no grudge. She knew that music, in the end, always reveals who we truly are. And although she had lost much, she had gained something that no uniform could hide: her voice. You never know who is behind the mask. Appearances can be deceiving, but respect and dignity must always be non-negotiable.